usually get like low bib numbers. So like Rob Carr had bib number 2.
Right.
And I had bib number 1019. You know? So I just look like a complete like schmuck just running the race. Not that like the people with those bib numbers are important, you know what I mean? But like I didn't look like an elite. I looked like just like a regular guy running the race. So I think it was like 8 miles in, they actually asked me my name. They were like, "What's your name?" And I was like, "Zach Miller."
8 miles to the end or 8 miles?
No, 8 miles, like somewhere around like 8 miles into the race.
Okay.
And so I was like, "Zach Miller," and then the rest of the race, people knew my name, but like nobody really knew who I was, you know. So anyways, at that one point in the race, when they finally saw that I looked like I was for real, they all started going nuts and trying to figure it out, but there wasn't really anything to figure out, like, except that I was a nobody. Like Lars started trying to tell him some stuff, but like he didn't have much to tell him. Like, I think he was like, "Oh, you ran for RIT," you know, like. They were like, "Well, what's his marathon time?" And Lars was like, "Well, he hasn't run one."
He's never run.
You know, I run some 50Ks, but no official like marathon. And so it was just like I was just like the nobody. And we get to 38, and I'm still leading. And I go through the aid station, and I didn't know where Rob was, like, in relation to me. But when I went through the aid station, I felt like somebody was right on my shoulder. So I thought he was close. But then we went out of the mile 38 aid station, and I wasn't looking back after that. I just kept running. And I'm not looking back. So when Rob dropped out at mile 41, I never knew. Like, he started walking, and then he dropped out at 41, and I never knew. So I got to mile 42, where you move from, that's where you get off the Sino Canal and you get onto the road for the last 8.2 miles or whatever. And so I get off there, and there's a you have to turn off the trail and go over onto the road, so it ends up making basically what essentially a hairpin turn, so you can see the trail behind you. So when we did that, I took a good look, and I couldn't see anybody. So I was pretty pumped, but for all I knew, Rob was just like 30 meters back, like out of sight, and he was still like coming after me. And nobody told me that he dropped out, and nobody told me how far back he was or where he was. So for all I knew, I was still getting chased. But then I got on the road, and the pace vehicles all came out to escort me in, because like the leader gets like a car escort in. Right. Over the last 8 miles. And we went up a hill, and we started running through like the rolling country roads there, which is actually a nice change of after running flat for so long. It's actually a nice change. And a Spindler started reading me mile splits. And like I'm out there, like, okay, I'm like counting the miles down. Like I'm like actually, for having run 42 miles, I actually feel pretty good. Like I can feel it, but it's not nearly as terrible as you would think. You'd think you'd just be like so deep into the pain cave, and you'd be like in a wall of misery and like just like so tough mentally. But it really wasn't. Like I've been deeper in the pain cave, like in other situations in life. Like I've been in more of a pain cave than I was there, and but I was working, and I was.
So
was
that
tired.
like a surprise? Were you like mentally, you're like, this is 42 miles?
Yeah, I think like
how can I feel this good?
Especially looking back, it was a surprise, and I mean as it was happening, I was just trying to get to that finish line and trying to see if I could get the win, but. So I may have not been thinking about it too much, but yeah, looking back, it was definitely a surprise. But even though I'm feeling pretty good, considering that I've just run 42 miles, I'm still I feel like I'm running slow. So I feel like I'm running like 7 30-minute miles, somewhere around there. Right. And then Spindler starts reading me mile splits, and the first one he reads me, he goes, Now, I'm not sure which one it was that he read me, because I don't know where he started. He may not have read me the first mile split. I don't know. But anyways, the first one I hear from him is 6:15, and I'm like, what the? Like I said out loud, I was like, what? I think I was like, that can't be. And like, I wasn't. He's like, after the race, he was like, you were like arguing with me out there on the course. I was like, well, it's like I didn't like mean to like argue. Like I wasn't trying to. I was just like in shock from like what he was like, how fast it was, because I felt like I was so much slower. Not that 6:15 is blazing fast. No, we do that like in our sleep and training and stuff like that. You know, we do 10-mile runs 20 seconds faster than
I've watched
that,
you do 18 miles.
Yeah,
nothing.
like no, but it's just that after 42 miles, I can't believe that I would be running that. And so I'm just like, and I don't feel like I'm running that. So, but I think in my head, I'm almost thinking like, well, maybe that marking's not accurate, or maybe he didn't get the watch quite right. But he talked to me afterwards, and he was like, no, he's like, that's a road certified wheeled out mile. He's like, and that's 1 mile. He's like, and you ran in 6:14.9, but I just yelled 6:15. And so anyways, I keep running, and at like 7 to go, because the whole time when the gun went off in Boonesboro, I clicked start on my watch, but I never looked at it. Like I just hit start, and then I never looked at it. I didn't know what I was going to run for 50 miles. The pacing was almost pointless.
There's no
to
point.
Me. Like,
you'd waste more time calculating.
Yeah, like I didn't know what I was going to run, so I never looked at it, and I was just running off of feel and racing people, racing Rob. Like that really helped to have Rob there with me, and So yeah, like I have no clue how fast. I'm thinking like, okay, maybe I'm gonna win the JFK 50, and that'll be amazing. But maybe it's just gonna be a slow time today. Like maybe I'm gonna run like 6 hours, and people will be like, oh, he won, that's great, but he didn't run very fast, and so when he reads me my time with 7 to go, I start doing some rough math, and I'm like, I think I might be able to run the next 7 miles in 7-minute pace, if I try. And I think that might be doable. That'd be 49 minutes. I start calculating, and I'm like, oh, that'd be a pretty good time. But I don't know how. But I wasn't thinking like 5:38. I was partially because I wasn't running 7-minute miles. I was running like 6:30-minute miles. So I was gonna finish faster than what I was roughly thinking. So he keeps reading me mile splits, and I'm running like 6:35, 6:39, 6:34. I'm basically running like 6:30 to 6:40. At one point, I guess I ran a 6:59. Spindler said that was into the wind, but at least it was under 7. And then with a mile to go, so I really didn't know how fast I was. Because even at 7, I had somewhat of an idea, but I didn't have. At 7, I knew that I was in like the sub 6 hour range, but I really didn't. But I didn't know I was sub 5:40 range. And then with a mile to go, he yells that I'm at like 5:32 something, and he goes, "You can break 5:40," and I'm thinking, well, only 2 guys in history have ever broken 5:40, and one of them was Max King, who's like insanely good. So I'm thinking, so it's like, whoa. So I take off with a mile to go. I'm like, I'm pretty sure I can do it, because all I need, I'm a mile out. All I need is a 7-minute mile. Yeah. All I need is one 7-minute mile. And I've been running like 6:30, so I'm like, I can do this. So I take off. And he told me at the end of the race my last mile was 6:10, which I'm like, that still amazes me that after 49.2 miles of running, I could run a 6:10. But like, I mean, at that point it was almost just adrenaline, you know what I mean? But it's not completely adrenaline, but the last 400 meters are, it's kind of that way.
How much of a view did you have going into the finish? Like, was it like?
It was a pretty long straightaway. I think I maybe crested a small hill, but I didn't know where I've never run it before, so I didn't really know exactly where it finished. So I'm looking up, after like 49 miles, I'm like, where's the finish line? Where's the finish line? and then I see like the little like banner thing, and I'm like, okay, and it looked like there was a clock, and I'm like, okay, I think that's it. And like Lars is there cheering for me, or he's taking pictures or something. And even Lars didn't know how fast it was until, like, he said just before I came into view, they announced that it would be third fastest in history, and that's the first time Lars knew how fast it was. Because even he wasn't paying that much attention to it. And, like, I'm coming in, and they're like, this is going to be the third fastest time in history. And I'm like, wow. And they're also like, and this guy trains on a cruise ship. And I'm like, who the heck told them that? Like, I'm like, how did they know that? I thought maybe Bradley showed up and told them. But it was Lars. Lars had told a guy, and then that guy thought it was hilarious or something. So he went and, like, told everybody. Yeah. And then, yeah, and I was just like, and I was just in shock. Like, I was in shock. Like, I mean, beforehand, you look at the results and you go, okay, Max King ran an amazingly fast time last year, like killed it, and ran 5:34:59 or whatever he ran. And it's like, Max King is so good. It's like, if anybody can run fast at JFK because of the nature of the course, Max King could. Well, and some other guys I think would do very well on there, like Rob Carr would probably, you know, fare very, you know, it's probably the type of runner that would fare well on there, and Sage Kennedy would probably fare very well at JFK. But anyways, like Max King is a runner that should definitely fare well at JFK. I mean, I at least think so. And like he ran that, and to think that like I came so close to, you know, like that time and whatnot. It's just like, I mean, granted, like he still got me by a couple minutes, you know, but like, and props to him for that. But like, just I didn't know that was gonna happen. I was just so shocked. And actually, Spindler talked to me after the race, and he was like, he said, that's good shoe flyby. No, that's not what Spindler said. But Spindler said, what did he say? Oh, he said with 7 to go. It must have been 7 to go. Yeah. On the race course. He said to, I guess, the guys with him, he was like, if this kid runs 45 minutes, if from here to the finish he runs 45 minutes, which he won't, he'll run 5:38. But he won't do that. Like, Spindler was like, he was like,
Spindler was convinced that you wouldn't run that fast.
He didn't. No, he was like, if he runs 45 minutes, he'll run 5:38. But he said he won't. He won't run 45 minutes. And then I ran 45 minutes, and I ran 5:38:53. Like, it's just, I mean, it was just, it all still like blows my mind. Like, it's also like weird, like. So, like, I sit at home and I read like all this stuff online, and like I just like, I'm not used to that kind of attention, and I just like can't get away from it.
I just gotta ask you, do you feel like with your ultra career and this being your big debut, do you feel like you've set yourself up for a mark you might never get again? Because that's what happens sometimes to certain people, is they have a breakthrough race, and then everyone expects that they can do that again. And are you going to be able to maintain the same spirit going into the next ultra adventure, whether that's UROC or something else?
Yeah, I mean, I know there's like that little bit of pressure, but Lars or Mike Kerbeck said after the race he doesn't believe in running flukes. And I can understand that. Like, Coach Worth used to teach us in college, like, you ran that workout, like, you ran that race, like, you needed to be confident in that. Like, nobody else came out there and ran that amazing workout for you. Nobody else came out there and ran that race for you. Like, you're the one that did it. You're capable of doing that. You know, you did it. That, you know, it's not really a fluke. Like, and I feel that JFK was, as much as it shocked me, and as much as like I didn't necessarily see it coming to that extent. You know, I could have seen a good performance, but I didn't necessarily see that performance coming. As much as it was that way, I do feel like I was trained well. I do feel like I was in some regard, the shape of my life. I say in some regard because there's like, you can be in the shape of your life for a 10K, you can be in the shape of your life for a marathon, you can be in the shape of your life for an ultra, and they're all kind of a different shape.
Exactly.
And I was, in terms of a race like an ultra marathon, I was, at this point of my life in the shape of my life. Hopefully one day I'll be in the shape of my life again, and it will be at a higher level. I'll be a step ahead. But I did feel like I was in very good shape going into it, and I did feel like I had done a lot of hard training, and I did some things in training that indicated, maybe that something like that was potentially possible, even if I didn't see it coming. So I feel like I can go out and have another good race. Will it be as great as JFK? Who knows? But I know that I had a lot of fun at JFK, and I just really went. I just really had fun, and I enjoyed it, and I felt like I didn't put too much pressure on myself, and so going out of it, I don't want to put too much pressure on myself for the future either. In terms that I don't want to get so worried that like I mess myself up. Like I just want to keep having fun with it and go out and look for some great adventures and some big races and see what I can do. But I want it to stay fun, and I hope that if I keep it fun, I can the success will come too. But I feel like I can go out and do some throw down in some races. In the future, I like to think I can back it up. That it won't just be a one race wonder. But yeah, there always is that little like, well, can I do it again? Like, was it just that magical day? But I feel like my body was trained well, and that while in some ways it was a magical day, it was a day my body was prepared for. And I think if my body was prepared for it, then I think it can get prepared again and have another good performance somewhere.
What do you think is like the most important thing you learned from this ultra, especially a 50-mile distance, that you maybe didn't learn in the other distances, or just in this particular race that you learned it so far?
I think maybe just things I learned in terms of like the mental aspect and the nutrition aspect of it. I felt like we really nailed the nutrition on race day. I feel like I could improve it a bit. I feel like I could still do better. But I thought for the most part we really nailed it. And I think that really helped. So like going forward, I think continuing to figure out what my body can handle in terms of nutrition, and figuring out how to use that to my advantage. There was one point in the race where I was like, I think I can eat my way to a victory. Because the nutrition is so key, and if you can keep getting those calories down, you can have a lot of success. And I felt like that was something that I could do. If I just kept feeding my body, it would keep going. So I almost want to go out and do some experimenting and training, and have some really long runs and just kind of see how many calories I can throw down and have my body keep cranking. Because I kind of feel like there's maybe some untapped potential there in terms of nutrition that maybe if I really get a strong hold on how my body works nutritionally, maybe I can really do some pretty cool things in races if I just use that to my advantage, how much I can throw into my stomach and just keep how much fuel I can just keep burning up. So there's that, and then just the mental aspect of it, because there is such a big mental component to it, and just keeping it fun and trying to feed off the fans, and like I kept looking forward to the aid stations, and the fans were great, and I loved that. And I tried to, I guess I kind of fed off that, and just keeping it fun and keeping it positive, not letting yourself like just bury your head in the pain cave and focus on the pain, but learning to just like let it be fun and just let it. Now, granted, I may have some race someday where I'm going to be so deep in the pain cave, it's going to be a totally different perspective. But I think also teaching my body to learn to embrace the pain cave and just get in there, just dig deep in, because it's going to potentially happen one day. And be able to just dig deep in there and like almost have like a euphoric state of like just almost feed off of that in itself. Like just have like play a fun little game of how much can I make my body hurt. If I could learn to like master that, like just kind of master those things, I think there's some good, if I could master those things, it would be very interesting to see what might happen in a race situation, because those things could be largely to my advantage. And those are the things that like I learned a lot about, I think, during JFK. So.